Hello, Shad, my man. It's so nice to have you on the show today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on today. I really appreciate it.
Beautiful, and thank you so very much for being here, my man. And you say, I truly appreciate you. And Shad, you say, oftentimes, I love to thank my guest for two things. And I do this so often to the point where it has become my anthem. So, firstly, Shad, I want to say thank you so very much for investing in yourself. You see, you are on this platform right now because you did invested in yourself. And oftentimes, Shad, I love to make reference to the amazing mango tree. You see, some couple of months back, I was on a particular road, and just by the roadside, Shad, there was this
hmm
very tall, unattractive mango tree. And I used to word unattractive because the mango tree's got no mangoes on it, and the leaves were all dry. So I just walked
hmm
past it. I just walked past it, and I went my way. But you see, Shad, just recently I was on that same road, and this time around, a lot's changed about the mango tree. You see, the mango tree caught my attention pretty good from a distance, and immediately I got the urge to move so close to it, of which I did, and it wowed me because now the mango tree's got a lot of mangoes on it, beautiful green leaves and healthy branches, and not just mangoes now, Shad. I'm talking about ripe mangoes. It was such a lovely experience that day, and I was so excited. Here is my point.
Okay.
The fact that you dedicated your time, energy, and resources to becoming the amazing Shad that you are today. That alone has made it impossible for me to skip you. And that's why you got the request from me to be on the show because I was attracted to the fruit of all that you're doing, your philosophies, your insights, the impact your work is having, and how you are offering your solutions, my man. This stuff's so beautiful. And just before I sent you that request, Chad, I said to myself, I've got to benefit from these beautiful things Shad is doing. And not only me now, because, I don't want to look selfish, and even with the audience. And here we are today with the amazing Shad. So thank you so very much for doing that to yourself. And secondly, thank you for saying yes to the invite. Because if you had said nope, there was nothing Elisha could do about it. Thanks so much, my man.
Yeah, absolutely happy to be on here. That's a great analogy. I love that. My wife's a big fan of mango. She's from the Philippines and
Love it.
loves. So I'll have to tell her that analogy. She'll love it.
Love it, love it, love it, and thank you. So let's get started. You see, I am quite excited to have you on the show today, Shad, for some reasons. Firstly, my interest in knowledge seeking. I believe in
hmm
order for one to transition from a terrible situation to that of a beautiful one, Shad, I believe it takes the application of knowledge, quality information, and not just knowledge alone, but the application of it. And you see, my man, ever since I discovered that light in the Hebrew means knowledge and darkness
hmm
ignorance, I have been so keen to knowledge seeking. Why? Because I do not want to remain in the dark. So that's going to make our conversation today very important to me and even to the listeners. And the second reason why I'm excited to have the incredible Shad on the show is for the sake of the audience. You see, Shad, we live in an age where information is as abundant as grains of sand. We've got lots of
hmm
information flying out there. So these folks trust me for quality, high opening, and very important information, of which I am totally convinced, my man, that our conversation is gonna be insightful and impactful. So for that reason, Shad, let's get started with your
hmm
introduction. Talk to us about your
Okay.
personal or your professional journey, because right now we are so curious. We want to know how Shad got here. Then afterwards, I've gotten some beautiful questions for you. Okay, Shad, my man, over to you.
Okay. Thank you, Elijah. So my background, how I'll speak from a career side. Yeah, I thought I was going to be, an engineer. I was going to be a mechanical engineer, design cars and things, and that. I always had that in my mind, like physics and math and science growing up, and went to Purdue University for that. Basically, once I got accepted there, it's like, okay, great. I'm not going anywhere else. It was nice. It was close to home, things like that. Got in 1 year of my university there and went, this is not what I want to do. The reality set in and went, this just isn't the career in the background for me. So I didn't know what to do because that had always just been the plan. And so I ended up on a suggestion by my sister, who I'm very close to go over to the business school. And I went over there, and they had a degree that was a combination of engineering and business and management together. And so that's what I started doing, and the rest of my career, and or rest of my college, university time. And while I was there, I got an internship at a pharmaceutical company doing logistics operations work. So didn't know anything about it. It was just like, hey, this is a great opportunity. It's a chance to live on the East Coast in the Philadelphia area for 6 months, work for a great organization, make some money, get some experience. And then came back for them for another summer before I graduated. And so I graduated college. Well, while I was in university, I become part of this international student exchange program through internships. And I actually helped this kind of my first foray into sales. I was helping sell the program to Indiana businesses, and then help them find students on visas, work visas, for anywhere from 3 months to 18 months max. And so I was helping run all that, manage that team, plus sell that, and getting pretty good at doing it. And so when I got towards the end of university, I said, I want to go experience one of these internships myself. So I actually ended up in India, in Bangalore, India, working for a tech consulting company for about a year. It's supposed to be a 3-month internship. I actually had a job I'd accepted in Washington, D.C. area for a logistics supply chain software consulting company. It was international based. That I got there 3 months and ended up breaking that job there. And they were very gracious about letting me, to stay in India, because I want to, it was a startup company. I want to be a part of this. And the goal was to come back to the U.S. and help grow in the U.S. from there. They were based in India, Dubai, and the U.S. Well, unfortunately, I came back in 2001 in February, which was when the tech market bubble just burst here in the U.S. and throughout the world. So I became a casualty of that. They basically said, hey, we're laying off the 6 people we have in the U.S. And until all this blows by, they were funded there in India, and their investors said, we're not funding anymore until all this settles. So young kid, 22, no real experience. Nobody's hiring for a young kid in the tech market in the U.S. at that time. So I just called up my old supervisor, my job out in the pharmaceutical company out in Philadelphia, and he said, hey, I'm actually moving out. Come, work for us. And so I ended up there a few years, and I said, I want to do something different. And also, young guy in my late 20s, I want to move up to New York City where I have a bunch of friends. So I moved to New York City, and that's where I truly got into sales as a career. I ended up at a large international third-party logistics freight forwarding company that based out of Switzerland, headquartered in New York area for North America. And I started doing inside sales work, so handling large bids and helping salespeople go out and sell those and close up those opportunities. And I got to be pretty good at it. And a lot of people started saying, you should go be one of these salespeople. I never thought about that. I was an engineering background. Like, that just sounded so foreign to me, but now it was starting to become a possibility. So fast forward to 2010, I moved back to Indiana, where I'm from, with the company to branch and take an outside sales role. And Elijah, this was the classic, like, I was just talking about this with a client of mine earlier today. You walk in, and basically, like, I knew everyone at the branch, small branch, about 7 people, serving, throughout Indiana, mostly central Indiana. And I knew everybody at the branch because I'd worked there during holidays, met everybody. But basically, the branch manager looks at me and goes, here's your onboarding plan. Like, basically, here's folders of the guy before you. Here's a laptop. Go to it. I'll see you at noon for lunch. That was my onboarding as a salesperson. No training. I had no network in Indiana. I just moved back. No real training as a sales. It was just sink or swim. And so I got thrown into it, and then I just started figuring stuff out. And luckily, I found Lucian in 2011 as a client for 3 years, which helped me start to figure all this out. Because I kept going, if I actually knew what I was doing, had the tools, I could be really good at this. And then in 2014, after 15 years in logistics, where I said, I'm ready to get out, do something different, and I promised myself I'd do something that helped a lot more people. And I just happened to be lucky of talking with our president here, Aaron, and he's my coach at the time. And I mentioned it to him, and he said, come work for us. And it just kind of connected everything. I got to help a lot more people, a lot more ways, right? And spread that word. I got to coach people, which I enjoyed doing in some of my roles previous. And I had control of my destiny. Like I could go out and create the career I wanted, the kind of business I wanted, and the lifestyle I wanted through this. So it just kind of all fell into place. And that was 14 years ago. Or I'm sorry, that was 11 years ago. It'll be 12 this coming year.
Amazing. What a journey. I tell you. And I love the part where you mentioned that you were able to be in charge of your destiny. That's a very important one. So I've got some questions here. Are you ready for me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So how do leaders hire salespeople more effectively?
Great question. It's funny. This literally was just talked about earlier with my client who the person I'm working with, one of the people I'm working with there, he's going to eventually be hiring some salespeople, and we're starting to plan that out. Here's the biggest problem I see, Elijah, is like most people, when they get ready to hire, it's a knee-jerk reaction, meaning somebody just left, or hey, we're all of a sudden taking off and growing, and we need to hire people to help with that. There's opportunity, or it's we got wrong people in the wrong seats, and we got to change it. So it's not a planned thing. So which means what happens is when things aren't planned, a lot of times we try to short circuit things because there's some sort of time pressure, other pressure to get these people in so we can get going. Well, that means that we end up not being clear on what is ideal in terms of what we're looking for in a salesperson, not making sure we've got the right tools and processes to validate those skills and tools are there and experience there, and they're a great cultural fit. And we don't have a good onboarding plan. Like I mentioned, like when I started, it's just like go to it, right? Versus having an onboarding plan to help them get all the right skills and tools and train and coach and ramp up in a certain amount of time so they can be effective faster. That's some of the biggest things. So how can they start? Like first is like, what's your ideal? Like, do you understand what the ideal salesperson is from skills and experience, from tools they have, from thinking of your own selling environment? Like what is our selling environment, and validating, do they have experience in that? Like calling on the decision makers that we do, and the types of businesses we do, and the sales cycles we're used to, and handling size of deals and revenue of deals and profit of deals we're used to, and the markets we're used to. Do we know what ideal is, and what's ideal, what is must-haves versus nice to have? It would be amazing to find the unicorn of a salesperson. They're rarely out there, right? So we got to go, these are the must-haves they have to come in with, and then these are the things we can train and coach up if it's not there. Having a good, strong process that actually helps us with the right tools to find out early, do they have the skills and tools and the experience we need? And combine that with, are they a good cultural fit? Elijah, one of the big problems I see is so many people just focus on the culture fit, which is very important. Do not get me wrong. I'm not saying it's not. But they don't take the time or have the tools and the experience to validate, does that person have the right skills and tools to be effective in their environment? What we say is, and we use tools and help our clients with processes, let's figure the skills and tools and experience they have first and validate it objectively. And then you have a smaller group of people you're looking to interview, but then you can go, let's make sure now they're the right cultural fit also. A lot of times we miss that. And here's the problem: humans, we have these things called biases, that if someone sounds like us, or they write things and they write the right things on the resume, or they say the right things in an interview, or they look and sound like us, we start to go, ooh, they're going to be a good fit here. They're like me. And then we have something called a confirmation bias, which means we try to confirm everything to fit that. We teach the inverse: is you want to disqualify as many people up front and really put them through the ringer, so that by the time you get to the end of that, you go, I know that they've got the skills and tools and validated, right? They've got the experience and validated. They're a good cultural fit. We've done everything we can to eliminate any risk. Now, does that mean that the times that won't work out? Yeah, there might be something personal or something else going on that you can't ask about that comes up, but you've done as much as you can to eliminate the risks early on. And then the final is making sure you've got your own processes and tools documented, they're effective, they're in use, and you have a good plan of how to ramp that person up. I call it the syndrome. I call it is the bird and the birdcage. To me, people try to go out and find that wonderful bird, right? The great salesperson, the ideal bird, And maybe they get lucky and find it if they don't have the right tools and processes, to do it. But let's say they find it, and then they don't have the bird cage ready for the bird, which means they don't have the tools, the processes, the coaching ready, the development ready, the onboarding plan for them. So that bird's going to fly that cage very fast. Great salespeople, they may say they leave for money and things like that. No, it's usually because the management wasn't great at and developing them at the place before. There was no place for them to go. A lot of these things, tools and process, et cetera, weren't there and weren't documented, and it made their life harder. But they don't want to come in and build that either. It's the rare salesperson goes, I want to build that all for you from the ground up. No, they want to come in and have that so they can do what they're great at, which is selling. You got to make sure you got the right things in place.
The bird and the bird's cage. Wow. You gotta make sure to have the right thing in place. I got that. Wow. That's amazing. Thank you for explaining that. I got it. So we have two more to go. So what structures help a business grow consistently?
Okay. Yep. And that builds into what we're talking about, the onboarding and the birdcage. Four major areas where businesses, if they want to consistently and intentionally grow. A lot of businesses grow unintentionally. It's like things just kind of happen, advantage of a market, our network, et cetera. And then I find that those businesses they start to fall off and growth starts to drop, or they kind of plateau and they're like, we can't get to that next level of growth. And it's usually because there's parts of, or even all four of these parts, like major pieces missing. So first area is strategy. Do we have good defined smart goals for growth, and we understand why those are where we're going and what we're trying to grow to? What does that mean? Well, why? Is it because you want to give back to your people and help your people and provide that for them? Is it because you want to leave this business into legacy? You want to help more people, right? What's our reason for growth? But also, what does that look like? 1 year, 5 year, 10 years. If I'm an owner, president, CEO of a business, what does the exit plan look like? I'm not going to be there forever. What happens at that point? Do I hand it to family if it's a family-owned business? Do I hand it to the employees? We're an employee-owned business. And when Paul Lucian, our founder, left the business or stepped back, we created an employee stock-owned program, an ESOP, so that it could always be employee-owned. That was part of his vision for the legacy. Is it that we sell to someone else, right? But what is that? Right. And why is it? And then so having that mission, that goals, those mission, that vision for your business clearly defined, and then being able to actually articulate it down to your people and have them clear on what that means. Breaking those goals down to your people and going, here's what you need to do as part of it, what we're going to require you to do as part of it to get there. Helping connect to their personal goals. What are their personal goals and why? And how does that connect to the bigger goals and vision you have for the company? People work hardest, Elijah, for the pool in their backyard, not the one in yours as a leader. So if you don't know their pool and what's important to them and their goals, and then connect and go, hey, if you help me get to these goals for the company, that gets you more of that pool, what you want, that's when people will go above and beyond. They're motivated because they go, I see how it helps me. Understanding what your new business strategies are versus growing existing. What does your ideal client profile look like? What resources and things do you need to put in place in order to get there? That's strategy. Second piece of structure, documenting your processes. That's what I was talking with my client about this morning. Documenting your sales process. What is it? Is it effective? How do you fix that? How do you use that as a tool to help train new salespeople and people when they come in? You also use it as a tool to coach them to be able to qualify and close deals more easily. And if you have a problem with an opportunity, we can look at the process and go, hey, it's because this or this didn't happen. That's why we're getting this outcome. Making sure it's lined up with your customer relationship management tool or CRM. So that way, if people are putting information and details in there in terms of pipeline and opportunities and putting them in a certain stage, you can go back and go, is it because we've done the right things in sales process? Do we have enough in each stage? Based on what our history or data tells us we're going to convert this much, what else do we need to do in order to hit our goals? Making sure you break down those goals to daily behavior plans and metrics and KPIs, key indicators that they need to be achieving in order to be on track to those goals. Having a strong sales process document, that's structure. Third is staff. Do we understand what skills and strengths our people have? What are they missing that we need to work on and help them to be as effective as they can? From a sales side, from a sales management side, from a sales leadership side. Instead of just throwing a bunch of stuff at people and hoping that it helps them, having the tools and the resources. There's an evaluation tool that we use that's objectively set up that helps to see all that. So that way we go, okay, if we're going to help your team or you're going to help your team, here's what you need to work on. It's going to have the biggest impact versus just throwing some stuff and hoping it works. And then finally is the skills. So having the plans, the tools, being able to give them the training and the coaching and the real life, putting it into action and development accountability to be able to put those goals and strategies into place and to use the tools and structure and to build on the staff, the skills they're missing to be as effective as they can. So those 4 areas, strategy, structure, staff, and skills, are what's important for organizations to be fully strong in those areas in order to intentionally grow.
Strategy, structure, staff, and skills. I got that. So to bring this to an end, my man, what would you like to leave the audience with, like a final thought? And to those folks who would like to reach out to you, learn more about the wonderful stuff you're doing, or ask you questions, how can that be possible?
Sure. So final thought, if and leaders, or even, not just owner, president, CEOs of companies or leaders, but salespeople, is really go in those areas and take a look at those 4 areas and go, do we have what we need in place to grow, right? To be intentional. And going back to what is our mission and our vision, and is that clear with my people and are we aligned? I mean, that's some of the biggest starting points I see missed, but do we have those 4 areas? Those are the key. In terms of how to reach me, I'm going to give a couple of different ways, Elijah. If you go to our website, which is www.lushin, that's LUSHIN.com. In the upper right-hand side, there's a little drop-down box that says Talk to a Coach. It'll take you to a form. You can elect to talk to me. If I have some information, I'll reach out within 24 to 48 hours, set up a time to talk. And whether it's got questions or you're like, we want to talk about how to help, how can you potentially help us, we'll just get that conversation set. The other place to reach me is go on LinkedIn, Shad Tidler. I'm pretty sure the only one out there I've ever seen. If you go on LinkedIn and connect with Shad Tidler, who works for Lushin, and then just drop me a message there in the direct messages, I'll be happy to respond and get some time with them.
Beautiful. So that's going to be the end of the show, my man. Thank you for coming, and thank you for sharing this wonderful stuff with us. It means a whole lot, Shad. Thank you.
Absolutely. Coming on. This was great questions and a great show.